Good morning, boys. Before we get started on the Type R project, I'm gonna do a little bit of work on Bobby's car. We have like two or three mods to install. Let's see if she'll hook at all in some light rain. Nope, no hook. I think we're gonna step down to a 18-inch wheel on this car with a Meteor tire. It currently has some 19 by 10 or 19 by 10 and a halves on it with a 265/30. So we definitely want to get some meats on here so she hooks up a little bit better. Even on dry pavement, it doesn't really want to hook. But the problem is I'm struggling trying to figure out what wheels we want to put on this car. Bobby is struggling as well. I'm kind of thinking TEs, but TEs they're nice, but I don't know if they look good on this car. So comment below. Some sort of like Works or Volks or Rays, something cool, some JDM wheel we gotta get for Gary. So first up is a package from our good friends at JD Customs USA. They make a ton of titanium parts. Ooh, that came out a little quicker than expected. Got a ton of hardware. I thought we already had titanium hardware all over this car. We definitely do. What's all this for? Cooling shroud hardware. Titanium hardware for the APR wing. That's what those guys are for. BOV, more APR wing hardware for the end plates, radiator cap plaque, the dipstick handle, coolant reservoir cap. What the hell is that? That's a big old boy. Power steering reservoir cap, and last but not least, brake reservoir cap. Bobby wanted a carbon fiber shift knob really bad for this car, so we got one of those. And last but not least, the thing that I've been most dying to see. Ooh boy. So this guy, just wait, there's more. This guy is the radiator cooling shroud. Last mod. This is from Noble Performance, and this guy's gonna sit right back there. I hope Bobby likes it. I know she didn't want a full carbon trunk on the car, but this nice little carbon backing for the license plate looks pretty sick. All right, being that it's the weekend, we can't make too much progress on the Type R because I really need some welding gas before we can finish up a lot of projects that we already have going on. But what we can do is some ABS stuff. This car, of course, is retaining ABS. I want this thing to drive as close, or I guess I should say I want this thing to have all the features that a new Type R has, which includes ABS. Being that we're already rebuilding all the lines for the brake system, meaning from the ABS pump all the way to all the calipers and to the brake master, all that good stuff is being built out of -3 line. I figured we may as well clean up our engine bay and get our ABS pump out of here. No, it's really not in the way. It is going to be very, very, very close to our exhaust manifold, but the cleaner we can have the bay, the better the end result is gonna look. So that guy is gonna come and go somewhere in our fender well. I'm gonna put the inner fender in, but I'm pretty sure all the space right here, we don't need any of that space. We could either go there, you go up here, but I'm thinking back there is gonna be a little bit better. First thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and pull the pump out. All the lines are pretty much already disconnected. There's a couple little lines left, and we are most likely gonna have to extend the harness, but I kind of want to redo the harness anyway, because if you remember back when we rebuilt this car, the harness was damaged. I did repair it, but I didn't do the best job in the world. I didn't use the right connectors and whatnot, and it could be done just a whole lot better. There we have it. As you can see, we have much more space for activities now without the ABS pump there. I'm not really seeing a good location up in here where it's gonna fit while maintaining the fender liner. But if we come over here, we could put it right here and it'd be a perfect fit. We just have to narrow up the windshield washer reservoir or the tank a little bit. If we trimmed it right here, that chunk comes out, ABS pump goes in, figure out how to plastic weld this guy back together, and we'd be good to go. So let's go ahead and pull this guy off, get the ABS pump to fit, and then we can move on to extending the wiring harness, which is not gonna be very fun. So this here is the ABS mounting plate, and I'm gonna remake this to fit these factory holes on the frame rail right there. Should be quick and simple. No welding required, just a couple holes. So here's our little mounting plate that we just built to adapt from the factory holes on the frame to the backside of the ABS pump. Here's the final location for the ABS pump on the bracket. I did some countersunk screws so we could get the pump as close to the frame rail as possible. A little 90-degree bend, all good to go. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and trim this guy. That's all finished up, fits nice and tight in there. Now we just gotta figure out a way to scale that off. Engine is back out of the car for the 10,000th time to give us easier access to our wiring. So when I say I didn't do the best job in the world, that's what I mean. It's very big, very bulky. I used just like some traditional butt connectors and I want to redo it the right way. So the plan is the harness is going to come down right here underneath the frame rail. It'll pop underneath the frame rail here, come down, bam, plug in there. And then from there, we move on to building all the brake lines, which that shouldn't be too difficult. Well, that's what I did a few months ago. It works. Obviously, it works just fine, but I don't consider that the right way to do it nowadays. So much wiring to extend. Jeez. Here goes nothing. So I think there's a total of maybe 30 or 40 wires here. So we're gonna have double the connections, one on this side, one on the harness side. That's a lot of wiring. A lot of room for error too, so I'm really gonna take my time. I really don't feel like doing this twice. We're running into a bit of a hiccup. I'm not sure how I resolved this last time, but we have multiple wires that are the same color. For example, over here we have 3 green. We still have another green over there, so there's 4 green total, all identical, no extra markings. A couple yellows that are the same, a couple... What else we got? A couple like light pink ones that are the same. So what I'm gonna do for now is connect the ones that I know are proper, and then I need to find a wiring diagram to get the rest of them done. Each of these wires is going to be crimped on with one of these little guys. I should probably get some better tools, but these things work. Crimp that end, crimp this end, and then when all the wiring's all finished up, everything's going to get one of these heat shrink connectors and then loomed up, and we'll be good. This is probably going to look like it takes about 5 minutes, but I'm sure extending the harness alone is going to be like 5 or 6 hours. There are so many wires, especially seeing how I have to go through a diagram now because too many of the same color wires. Well, boys, I was way too eager and completely messed up, and I decided I'm just gonna buy a whole new wiring harness. And the reason for that is so I can go through one by one on each wire and extend it. Because as of right now, there's about 30 wires that are unknown. These few amount of wires right here, these are known. I can connect these back to the harness. All these wires, minus of course some of the big ones, are unknown. There's so many same exact color wires with the same markings on them to where it's gonna be a giant headache. Looked at a few different wiring diagrams, and all the diagrams that I've seen is showing different color wiring versus what I have. So complete mess. I found a used harness on eBay for 200 bucks, same part number as that one. And whenever that guy comes in, we can go through and get everything extended. So for now, let's thankfully put all the wiring aside. Big joke. I messed up. If you're gonna extend a harness, go one by one and it'll make your life 10,000 times easier. So for now, we can go ahead and build all the brake lines. That'll be easy. I was smart with that and marked everything on our ABS pump, RL, RR, front left and front right. These two boys right here, these run back to the brake master. Of course, these four run to each caliper. Here is our -3 braided line. I think I ordered like an absurd amount, like 40 feet or something. And here's all the fittings that we're gonna need for this conversion. So our very first line is built. This is the end that's gonna go into the ABS pump, comes out, and this is for the passenger side, so it's very, very close, not a long line. This end goes into the back of the caliper. I did buy these fittings like a traditional caliper would take, but I realized the Type R is a little bit different than usual. As you can see, that guy's gonna thread in there, loops around, back behind the coilover, and is gonna pop right into that fitting right there. So the first thing we need to do is get the caliper on the car. Get this guy on. All right. So now that we have that on, let's figure out where exactly we want to route this line coming from the ABS pump. I already know the rears are gonna follow this frame rail here, and then the tunnel all the way to the back. So the one that passes to that side, I'll probably just do that same concept to come up, bottom of the frame rail, pop over this way into the back of the caliper. So we're not wasting a bunch of the braided line. I'm getting the proper length down with string first. Much cheaper than that freaking braided line. Hold it in place on the pump with a little clamp. Running behind the electric power steering pump, behind the steering rack. And then on this side, I'm just gonna route it exactly where the factory line ran. So just gonna anchor to the body here, anchor there, come above the CV axle and plug right into the back of the caliper. So now that we got our length down, we can grab this much of the braided line and trim it. Of course, these guys would never work with like 10 AN or 8 AN, but they work fine with the 3 AN. Try and cut that as straight as possible, of course. And now we can install the fittings. These guys are pretty simple to install. Take off this nut here, slide it on the line. I like to separate the braided part from the clear hose internally just a little bit. Now you're gonna take the silver collar and it goes in between the braided line and it goes on top of the clear line. Tap it on there, make sure it's seated all the way. Now this guy slips on like that. I like to tape this up, put this nut end in the vise, and then grab a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter and tighten down the fitting. As you tighten it down, it squishes the braided part in between these two guys here, and it will never come loose if you do it properly. I saw someone online use cardboard to do this, so I guess we can give that a shot. Unless you don't care about your fittings getting scratched up. Front brake lines are over there, rears are over here. Let's go ahead and get all these lines up on the car. Find a good way to fasten them to the body so they're not drooping and dangling around. The rear should be easy to run right down the tunnel, kind of where the factory ones ran. That is the clip for factory line. So gonna pop down here and then split off. One will go that way, one will go that way. And then fronts will be easy as well. All right, boys, it's the next day. We got all of the brake lines made. So that is how they look coming out of the ABS pump. Now these two right here run back to the brake master cylinder, which we're still undecided on if we're converting to an older style master cylinder or maintaining the Type R master. So once we get that figured out, being that they use a different size thread, one's like a 10 mil, one's a 12 mil, I believe, then we can build those two lines. And then underneath the car, here's the lines that run to the rear calipers, split off here. Bam, 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 bam. Now the last thing to do is I need to grab some sort of plastic bond. I know 3M makes a couple different ones, so I'm gonna run to the local auto paint store and see what they have. I need to grab plastic and plastic bond to get this thing welded back together. And then as soon as this is done, we're done with the ABS pump relocation. Besides the wiring, but we'll do the wiring some other day. Here's what we got. A big old sheet of plastic, 10 bucks worth of plastic. $100 worth of plastic repair. And I'm gonna go ahead, cut out the exact shape that we need, maybe like tape it up on there somehow and seal it up. I should probably clean it and maybe scuff it up around this edge just to ensure that it bonds properly. All right, let's see how this 3M product works. So far, so good. This stuff dries so freaking fast. Holy shit. How the hell? Not the most pretty thing in the world, but that should do the trick. It takes 1 hour for the full cure time. Then we can slap some water in there. Make sure it doesn't leak. If it does, not a big deal. We have plenty of the plastic weld left, but let's make sure it still fits with that little cap on. OEM Plus. Bolts on like that. Ooh, it just clears. Look at that. Like it's meant to be. While that hardens up, I did pick up more argon for the MIG. We can go ahead and finish up that rear torque mount. Rear mount is all finished up. Decided to wire brush one of the welds and see how they're looking. That's how they looked not wire brushed. Plenty beefy, plenty heat. Should be good to go. All right, this reservoir is all dry. Let's toss some water in her and see what happens. Please don't leak. Oh, we got a leak. We got a leak. I probably could have got a different product. This has a 20-second, it literally says right there, 20-second working time, meaning as soon as it starts coming out the end of the tube, you got 20 seconds to complete whatever you're trying to do. Very, very difficult. If we had like a minute, that'd be good. But what I did is go ahead and I grinded all of the epoxy down, made it nice and good looking again, went around, put another bead, and hopefully that time it seals. One small leak on the bottom, so I put a ton on there. Should be good. Let's let that cure up again. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and get the engine, trans, and transfer back in the car with the new rear mount on, and we can start messing around with the front mount. Probably won't get it done today, but we can make some progress on it. Well, I am just gonna start building stuff. So we have this random mount that came in our all-drive swap kit for like EK or something that we bought it for. So we got this guy, nice rubber mounted. I'm thinking we're gonna build the base plate, kind of like what we did for the rear mount. Build the base plate first, build some tabs off of it. I have some leftover steel. Of course, this guy's a little bit too short. There's already threaded holes in the bottom of the subframe, so this should be completely removable. The only tricky thing is it's gonna have to have some pretty good bends on it, which my only bending device here is my vise. Tabs from that lower. All right, there's our base plate. The tabs will come off down here. So the base plate on the trans is built. Initially, I was gonna build some little tabs that come off like so, but I changed it up. I think it's gonna be better if I go ahead and flip this around. This guy's already threaded on the backside. Go ahead, smack that on right there. And then on the bar that we need to build tomorrow, that's gonna go from side to side on the subframe. We'll build those two tabs that come up off of that to bolt onto here. For tonight, I'm just gonna finish up with getting our holes drilled here so we can get this guy bolted on so we can fabricate the rest of it tomorrow. The hard part for the front mount is all finished up. Now all we have to do tomorrow is just build that bar from there to there. Two little tabs that come up to this guy. A little floppy right now, but two little tabs that come up to that guy, weld it all up, and we'll be done. And after that, every single motor mount for this car is done. All the rear subframe modifications are done. Front subframe modifications are done. What do we even do from there? Wait for rear axles to show up, wait for driveline to show up, wait for the replacement front axle to show up, and then all the drivetrain stuff is gonna be done. And then we have wiring for the ECU. We have all the standalone stuff. We still have so much stuff to do on this car, but we're making good progress. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm gonna try to link all the stuff for the ABS pump relocation down in the description box below. Mainly just all the fittings and lines and whatnot that you're gonna need if you wanna relocate your ABS pump. Pretty much need an adapter and then some 3AN fittings and lines and a little bit of fab skills. I wouldn't really consider mine skills, but a little bit of fab creation and build a little bracket and you're good to go. That was fun. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out. I'll see you boys in the next one. Almost forgot one last thing before we dip out. This thing is all dried up, so let's see if she holds water. I think it will. It freaking better. Please don't leak. Nothing yet, nothing yet. All right, she's getting full. Shit, we have a leak.